Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow a family law firm from absolute scratch? This video follows Tom Hartin, an attorney on Long Island who is doing just that. I'm your host, Jeff Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sterling Lawyers. We are a 25 plus attorney family law firm doing over 15 million in revenue. And my purpose here is to share with other family lawyers so you can build the practice of your dreams. And Tom started his firm in September. We've been following law entrepreneur Tom Hartin as he started his family law firm and is building it. So each month we're coming to Tom and we're asking, hey, Tom, what's going on in your practice? And I've asked him to be really candid and straight because we want to be able to share with other people what he's doing so you can build your firm as well. So welcome back, Tom. We're here in March, looking back at February of 2025.
That's right. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me back. And yeah, still here in my first office, but one of the things we can talk about today is that I did open a second location. Was hoping to be filming from there today. That office is up and running. Internet's up and running, but I don't have furniture yet, so I didn't want to be sitting on the floor. But yeah, second office is up and running. So next time, hopefully you'll be seeing me there.
Awesome. So let's start with your metrics and your performance numbers from last month. And I know we have a bunch of headlines to go through for what's happened. So what happened in February?
Sure. So top line revenue, probably about average, a little bit above average. Definitely would like to see that number go up, but top line revenue, a little shy of $7,710. I had 9 leads, I had 6 consults and 5 hires. So
awesome.
Yeah, overall, good number of hires. A lot of those hires were on smaller matters such as uncontested divorce cases, and I think I had a prenuptial agreement hire also. So some smaller fee cases, but still the numbers are going up, and I love to see that. And
5 out of 6 is extremely strong. Those 5.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear,
yeah,
some of those are from previous months, I'm sure, but
okay. So yeah, there's
probably at least 3 of the 6, I would say.
Okay, 50%. That's still good. That's fantastic.
And it's funny. I actually had someone. I don't know if you've had this before. Literally, walk in off the street. So he ran. We have a buzzer system in my building, and so I got a notification on my phone, and just for someone ringing my office, and I thought maybe it was a delivery or something. So I ran out, and I'm like, hey, did you ring my buzzer? Sometimes I get people that ring my buzzer looking for because there's other people that work here also. And he's like, no, I'm looking for Hartin Family Law. And I was like, sure, come in. And I had no client meetings that day, so I was in sweatpants. And I was
my goodness.
Sure. I was like, sure, come on in.
Did you have a normal shirt on up top in case you had a video conference?
I had a sweatshirt. No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just came in. And he signed. He literally was in the office for 10 minutes. He was looking, it was an easy case, husband and wife separated for, decade, just wants to finalize it. And yeah, now he's like, what's your fee? And I quoted my fee. He's like, all right, let's do it. I was almost hesitant to let you in, but I'm glad I did that.
Did you go through about, hey, I'm sorry, I'm wearing sweats? And
I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm normally not dressed like this, but
you didn't care.
No, clearly not.
Oh, wow. That's funny. Yeah. So you had expenses about what, 800? I think.
Yeah. So this was my lowest month of expenses, and I guess my previous company was charging me at the beginning of the month, whereas my new company, Rocket Clicks, is charging at the end of the month. So I didn't have marketing expenses at all for the month of February. I think there was one carryover from Google Ads, so that was charged on February 1st. So that was a $300 charge. And then, $500, just my standard various charges. That's my Lexus subscription, Adobe, ChatGPT, stuff like that.
Okay. Nice. So your profit take home was, pre-tax, obviously, a little under $7,000.
That's right. Yeah. So actually, probably that was my highest profit month, just because I didn't have any marketing expenses. But yeah, as of March going forward, my marketing expenses will climb significantly. So hopefully my top line number will as well, to balance that out.
So for any listeners that are maybe new, this is your first time watching Tom here, you Tom are also an IP lawyer, and you've got some work on the side that you're supplementing, obviously, your family law income doing intellectual property work.
Yes.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So the There's a number of benefits to me keeping that job. One is obviously just steady salary, and they know that my primary focus is on my family law firm. They know at some point I'm going to get busy enough that I walk away. But there's a big hiring shortage in the patent field, and I've been there for a few years. They like me, so that they let me kind of drop my work to like 50% or some months even less. But the major benefits aside from having some steady income are that they still pay my health insurance for me and my family, which would be a pretty major expense once I have two young kids and a wife. So once
Yeah.
I go full time, that's an extra expense that I'll have to factor in. And they pay the majority of my like FICA and Medicare taxes. So one of the downsides of having a business is you have to pay that kind of self-employment tax of 15%. So I'm pretty sure I have an understanding correct that
Yeah.
since they're paying that, I don't have to for my small business. There was like a small overlap that I had to pay, but they paid the
Yeah.
overwhelming majority of it.
Nice.
So as in like I pay the 7.5 and they pay the other 7.5. Whereas when you're self-employed, you have to pay the entire 15%.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the headlines for Hartin Family Law for February.
Sure. So February, yeah, one big one which I already mentioned. New office is open. We had an issue getting it listed on Google Maps, so we currently have an appeal for my GMB profile. I think when they submitted it, for some reason, it just automatically linked it to my existing office. So as of right
Okay.
now, it still only shows that I have one. But yeah, the appeal's been submitted, and I'm sure that will sure they'll have that fixed soon.
So the whole purpose of opening this second office was to get another listing.
To get another listing, and actually that office is about two, maybe even closer to three times the size. So I actually will that yeah, that was the primary reason, but I actually probably will keep that as my primary office. And I think they're close enough that most people that are coming to my current office, I could convince them to come to the other one. But if not, I'll still have
Okay.
this as well. So
What's the driving distance between office one, where you're at today, and your new office number two?
somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, not prohibitive. And if someone says I don't want to drive that far, I say fine, I'll come meet you here. I'm sure I'll still be here at least one day a week anyway. But yeah, it's good. I like to have that extra space. I'm not a typically neat person, so it's hard. In this, I have like a single office here. I have to keep it like very spotless, which is not my personality. In the new office, I have two completely separate offices that are separated by a door, so I can kind of have my own individual space to do with what I want, and then have more of like a conference slash client meeting room where it'll just be a table and some chairs.
Yeah.
That'll be nice.
I think consults go better in conference rooms than you
Yes, I
sitting
think.
behind a desk
I
anyway.
would,
So
and the tough thing is here we have one. We have a conference room, but there's no way to book it. I don't know. I might be getting off topic here. So like I assume probably 9 out of 10 times, even more than that, when a client comes in, I bring them into the conference room, and I never have to bring them into my office. But every once in a while, there's someone in that conference room, and there's been one time where I had to be like, can you sit in the meeting room for a minute? I had to rush in and clean my office before I brought the client
oh,
in. Yeah. But yeah, whatever. That's an aside. So that'll be a nice benefit to have, and it's actually closer to my home, only by a few minutes. But it's like two offices, both have like big like almost floor to ceiling windows. So,
okay.
yeah.
What's your rent going to be on a monthly basis for one, and for two?
So the initial one that I'm in right now is 1,200 a month, and the other is 1,600. So have combined 2,800 a month in rent, which is yeah, that's a big expense.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully having the second listing will,
Yeah. So
within
you're going to be feeling the pressure to start producing once you get
yeah,
your marketing expenses flowing through. And
I will be feeling
okay.
the pressure, and Rocket Clicks will be
Yeah.
feeling the pressure. Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurial baptism by fire experience you're about to go through this month. So
Yep. That's right. It's all right. I'm looking forward to it. In my mind, I know there's been a ramp that's going to continue, but I think now that I'm working with Rocket Clicks, hopefully, there'll be a new fire lit under on the marketing front. Things should pick up.
I remember last month we talked about some challenges you had with the algorithm update with Google and your reviews. What's the update there?
Thankfully, those were all restored, and I won't harp on that too much. I think pretty much every business owner saw this, and
Hmm.
So everybody panicked. So I had, let's say at the time, 30 reviews. And then I woke up one morning and I had 22 reviews. And then by the next morning, I had like 18. So they wiped out almost half of my reviews. So it looked like. But then when you actually went in and looked at the reviews were still there. So it was just the number that
Oh,
Google messed
okay.
up. So it would say, like, you see on Google Hartin Family Law, it said 18 reviews. But if you scroll down and read the reviews, all 30 of them were still there. So that was so they fixed that. It took Rocket Click submitted an appeal, and they fixed it within like 2 days. And I think pretty much everyone's has been fixed at that point. So that's good, because that was pretty terrifying, especially as I'm just opening my second office, and I know I kind of need to start diverting some reviews that way. So I did
Yep.
not want to have to start from scratch. But you know, the silver lining there is kind of lit a fire under me to start collecting more reviews again. I did some more outreach last week. I think I was able to get another like 3 reviews since that's happened. So I'm targeting, as of right now, targeting to try to get at least one a week. And once now that the new office is open, that should at least be 2 a week, hopefully.
Yeah. That's hard execution type work, but it's so valuable over
It
the long
is,
term.
and it's
These
it's
people
it's hard. I'm trying to do it with people that even at the consult stage,
Mhm.
which is totally okay by Google's guidelines. They've come in, they've interacted with me, even if they like if there's a reason they didn't decide to hire me that really has nothing to do with me. I'll reach out and say, like, hey, hope I was able to, did a free consult, hope I was able to provide you with some valuable information. If you're willing to leave me a review, I'd greatly appreciate it. Here's a link. And most people are, surprisingly willing to do it.
Wow.
So
Yeah, especially you give them a personal touch and a personal reach out there,
right.
it just helps them feel comfortable doing it, right? Because they know you care.
Yeah. Yep. And then even some people now, where we're in the middle of the proceedings, if
Mhm.
for some reason I didn't have, anything to anyone else to ask, I'll say, hey, I know we're in the middle here, but would you mind leaving a review? If you're happy with the way things are going. And same thing, they've been doing it.
Yeah.
So
So Tom, we've watched you go through your first 6 full months here. So you just kind of closed the books on February, and that capped off your 6 months, your first 6 months of actual practice. What has been some of the initial insights or surprises? And then what kind of goals are you putting out there for yourself?
yeah, so initial surprises. I think it's taking longer to really get fully going than I was
Hmm.
planning. I had hoped by the 6 month mark, and we'll discuss my kind of goal setting exercise that I did with Rocket Clicks. But yeah, I think I was thinking that at the 6 month mark, I'd be pretty swamped, and I am. Don't get me wrong. I'm starting to feel the heat a little bit. I'm definitely getting a little bit busy. I think right now I have 17 active clients,
Okay.
18, something like that. So that's decent. Again, a lot of them are small. I think if I had 18 full contested divorce clients, I'd probably be looking to hire someone at this point. But yeah, it's, a lot of them are small, uncontested, or prenuptial agreements. Those don't take
Hmm.
too much time. So yeah, I would say that's really the biggest one is be prepared for, and I've heard this on podcasts, books, websites, everything. However long you think it's going to take, budget for twice as long, 3 times as long. So luckily, I've done that, and
I
yeah,
can
so,
tell you from 10 plus startups, I made the mistake 10 times.
yeah,
I'm not kidding. It always takes longer than you think in your budget and your forecast, how you pro forma it out, all that.
yeah.
I'm smiling here because you're like, oh, okay, it's gonna take longer than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure you told me that in the beginning also. So luckily, I did financially budget things to take
Yeah,
longer, but I think in my mind, I still expected things to be quicker. Kind of
yeah.
plan for the worst, hope for the best type of thing.
Just from the outside watching you, yeah, you've managed your expenses really well, and you've managed your resources financially well. So
Yeah,
fully
I
credit for it.
am again extremely fortunate to have that other position where I'm still able to really have tons of flexibility and still be able to
Mhm.
make some money on the side, because as you know, my wife is currently a stay-at-home mom with my 2 kids, so I'm bringing in all the income for our house. We live in a relatively high cost of living area, so not feeling the pressure too much now, but I think in 6 months from now, I will be. And I was totally upfront with the new marketing company when I signed with them, not only continuing but doubling down or even tripling my expenses, probably even more than that actually. I need things to pick up rather quick. And I think now that I'm working with arguably one of the best family law marketing companies. I have 2 offices. I think there's no reason that 6 months from now I shouldn't have enough work to at least keep me busy between,
Hmm.
2 offices and a great marketing company. So
So as you look ahead, though, what are your goals? What did you share with them as to what you wanted?
yeah, so this is an exercise that one of the first steps I did with them was an exercise on where I wanted to be. So I said 3 months from now, and this was only a couple weeks ago, so I'll just use the term from now. 3 months from now, I wanted to have a full caseload for myself. And I think I defined that as like 30 to 40 active cases, working on an hourly basis, able to bill like 1,400 to 1,500 hours a year,
Hmm.
something like that,
Hmm.
or whatever, 110 a month, something like that. So that's how I defined a full caseload. So that was a 3 month goal. 6 month goal was to continue that goal plus enough to hire a paralegal and still, have enough to keep myself busy plus the paralegal. So rather than, 30 cases, maybe that's, maybe I'm able to handle 50 cases. If I hire a paralegal, that's, and I'm taking some advice from your podcast. And I'm sorry, I've listened to so many people. Who's the person on your team that did like the 1.2 million and had the podcast that describing where she, like how awesome
Yeah,
paralegal.
Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany, right.
Yeah,
How her paralegals just do, are able to handle so much more work than the typical paralegal. So
yeah.
that's kind of my goal for my paralegals when I bring them on. I think paralegals can really range from, you know, people that make phone calls and do scheduling and stuff like that, all the way up to
Mhm.
paralegals that write full briefs and stuff like that. So I definitely want to lean more towards the latter. Where my and I know all firms structure differently. Everyone, some firms have every associate has a paralegal. Some of them have, one paralegal for every 3 associates or every 5 associates. So I kind of like, the idea of, everyone having a supporting paralegal or at most, 2 to 1, something like that,
Yeah.
where the paralegal can be really involved. And I think that allows the attorney to charge, not only charge more, but also provide more value to the client, right? If I don't need to spend 2 hours writing a brief when I can meet with the client, figure out exactly what they want and, have a paralegal actually do the drafting at a much lower rate. Of course, I'm going to, proofread it and everything before I sign off and give
Yeah.
suggestions, but I don't know. So that's my thought. So I got off track. So that was my 6 month goal.
On that 3 month one, let's go back on that. I'm just want to explore that a little bit more. So a full caseload, do you translate that to a top line revenue number? Is it you want to collect 25 a month, 30 a month? What does that mean look like to you?
I did do that actually, but I didn't give that information to Rocket Clicks, but I had that number in my head. I would say, what were the numbers you just suggested?
I just suggested 25 or 30. That seems like a
Yeah, I think probably, yeah, 20, maybe 22, 25, something like that
Mhm.
is probably where I'm shooting.
You're doing just shy of 8 now. So if you tripled that, it puts you at 24, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So
And
from a revenue standpoint, a full caseload means you're bringing in 25-ish a month
yes.
cash, not just collection, not just, billing, but actual collections.
Yeah, but although I will say my collection rate is, if it's not 100%, it's very close.
Yeah. Keep it there because it's going to be real easy as you grow for that to slide.
Yeah, I'm strict with that, thankfully. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things I learned from you and a couple others before I even started. So that was very much in my head. I know there are plenty of attorneys out there with collection rates. I've heard 70, I've heard 60, I've heard some are even below 50, which
Yeah.
uh,
It's true, man. It's
yeah,
incredible to me. That's a process that you just have to prioritize and stay on top of.
yeah. I mean, I'd rather have 10 clients where I'm collecting 100% than 20 where I'm collecting 50%, and you're just running around crazy and
It's so easy to focus on the fun stuff, right? The marketing and, all the glad handing and all that brings in clients. That's an endorphin rush, but man, it's the back end blocking and tackling collections that makes all the difference.
yeah. And I took a few measures to kind of make sure that that's happening. I
Mhm.
pretty much all my clients sign with credit cards, so we do like monthly credit card payments, makes collections a whole lot easier.
What processing tool do you use for that?
Microsoft Excel. And yeah, I already enter the numbers. I'm working on. Actually, I have a LawPay subscription. I haven't
Okay.
started using it yet, though. I think you said you use that also, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We've found that it works really well.
Yeah. So I need like a full day or two to transfer all my existing clients over. So I have to like set aside a day to do that and then make the formal switch over. But as of right now, I'm entering my time in Excel and then adding it up at the end of the month. I'm going to my Chase virtual terminal and charging the credit cards.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I'm,
Yeah.
maybe charging 6 to 8 credit cards. It's not like,
Yeah.
it's not taking me all day. Maybe the whole process takes me an hour and a half each month. So it's not crazy yet, but yeah, it should get crazy pretty soon.
It's going to be interesting watching you when you start to scale, changing your systems out. Because you're going from Excel, obviously, that's where you should start when you're a solo like you, no doubt. 'Cause it's easy and it's free. But man, as you start to scale, you're going to be bumping into all of these process enhancements that you're going to have to do.
Yep. Yeah. And again, that's where having a paralegal will help, and just having more systems will help.
Well, as we start to get there in the future, I'll be able to bring my team in to help you kind of think through like these steps because there's like going from 1 to like 6 or 7 is a bunch of changes, and then once you get to about 11 or 12 and you need to go to 13 or 14 lawyers, there's a whole nother set of process changes you have to do to get there.
Oh,
It's a stepping process. Yeah, it's really hard to pick a process and a system and when you're small that lasts until you where you want to be. So
yeah, I'm sure.
okay, so I think you're about to talk about your 6-month goal
Yeah. So,
and then
so
your
three
year
month
goal.
3 month was full caseload for myself. So that, I guess you're right. Probably we'll just call it 25,000 a month top line. And then at 6 month would like to have that plus a paralegal. So maybe
Mhm.
at that point, more like 35, 40 a month.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, by the end of the year, I'd like to hire an associate. And at that point, things might change because maybe I can offload more work to that associate and, take on more work from my other firm, depending on how busy I am. So yeah, that number could change significantly because I could make in order to assure the associate's busy, funnel. And then if there's overflow, I take it. Otherwise I can just make more money at my other job. That's why I love having that flexibility. End of year, would love to have a paralegal and an associate. And I did a 3-year goal and a 5-year goal. So at 3 years, I'd love to have 4 associates. And again, I have 2 offices. One's in Nassau County, one's in Suffolk County. So ideally, two in each office. And then at 5 years, would love to have 6, 3 in each office.
Yeah, we were taking everything though. You're pretty focused, which is a good place for you to be.
Yeah, that's true.
And we weren't profitable either. We were losing money hand over fist because we just sucked. So
Yeah, I knew.
eight looks good on paper, but when you peel back the onion, you see, oh man, there's a lot of garbage here. So that was our situation
So are
back
you
then.
referring to the time when you were doing like multiple types of law, or was this
Yeah,
after?
our first 18 months went from 0 to 8 lawyers, and we
I
thought
remember.
we were
But then
kings
I
of the.
remember, correct me if I'm wrong, you dialed, and you just did a recent one on this that I listened to. You dialed back to 4, but then you got back to 8. Like
Yeah, we
small.
got back to 8 in that year.
And were you
Yeah, but we,
profitable at
you
that
know, we
point?
had already, yeah,
Yeah,
it started to work for us once we got to that point. So
good. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, growth will probably be slow. I don't know what your startup capital was, but I'll assume it was more than mine, which is not much at all. So yeah, I think it might be a little slower for me, but still, I'm in a busy market. And I think my pitch to hire people is pretty good. You'll have your own office. You're on the legal end. I don't plan on being like I think some partners hire associates and are overly, they want to review everything they do, and I
yeah,
don't kind of micromanage. Like I don't plan on being that type of boss. That's why I want to hire someone with 3 to 5 years of experience and say, you know the law at this point. You've
Mhm.
clearly demonstrated you like, not only are you good at it, but you like it. And I'm gonna pay you well. I'm not gonna micromanage you. My goal is to focus on growing the business, and your goal is to do great work and keep good reviews coming in. And yeah, other than that, I don't plan on micromanaging how they practice. I think there's room for kind of laid back, non-confrontational people, and there's room for confrontational people. If I don't want to be the firm that's known for being overly aggressive and nasty, but some people can be forceful without being that way. And if that's how you want to operate, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Well, at a certain point, you can have control or you can have growth. You can't have both. And it's probably that 4 to 6 number.
yeah,
This
it's a
is
good way to put it.
you got to be able to delegate and trust at that point.
Yep. Yeah. And then that was, I think we talked about this before, somewhere between that 3 to 5 years, I guess, depending on the profitability, is when I would kind of step aside to working, to kind of not having a caseload myself. And I don't know if I would like gradually dial back, each time I hire an associate, maybe I'm dialing back a little bit. So then when it gets to, 4, 5, or 6, I say, I'm consistently making X amount from each associate, and it's comfortable at this point, and I can kind of step back. And
I
then,
think you'll do that, Tom, because as you start to add associates, your management leadership responsibilities increase. So either you're going to work more hours or you're going to offload some of that client work and replace it with leading, managing, helping these associates become successful.
yeah. And then I know there was one other thing I wanted to talk about: the location for the new office. This was like my one, I don't want to say disagreement. It was kind of like my initial conversation with Tyler at Rocket Clicks, where to put my new office. And so when I found my first office, my focus was, where's there obviously a good population density that is like in that middle to upper middle class range. I'm not looking to be in the Hamptons or any of these like super high end areas, but middle to upper middle class. And a big focus of mine is where there was not a whole other number of divorce attorneys. So
Yeah.
I found my location here in Massapequa. It met all 3 criteria, great, good population density, middle to upper middle class. And there was like one other divorce lawyer that had like 4 stars on Google. A couple other lawyers in the area, but not strictly divorce lawyers. It's a largely residential area, so there's not a ton of commercial properties. And I think that's why, once I got 10 reviews, and I was number 1 on Google Maps.
Wow.
Which was awesome. So my goal was to my thought was do the same with office number 2, kind of find another spot like that. And I had some areas in mind where, out in Suffolk, population density is going to be a little bit lower, just because, bigger houses, bigger properties, but still,
Yeah.
it's Long Island. It's a suburb of New York City. That it's still, population density is still, pretty high. So where I opened my office is Melville. There's a lot of competition in Melville. There's probably at least 4 other attorneys that have hundreds of reviews and have been around for a long time. And I know the main marketing strategy, at least initially, is the maps, right? That's how you grew, and that's how Rocket Clicks plans for me to grow, is to climb up in that map ranking. So my thought was, why not open in a location where there's a lot less competition, but still enough people that I'm not operating in the middle of nowhere. They recommended 3 locations for me to open up offices in the future. So one of them was Melville, and one of them was Hauppauge, and one of those was Garden City. And those are all like 3 areas where there's just a ton of attorneys. And the other 2, so Garden City and Hauppauge. So Garden City is near the Nassau County Courthouse, and Hauppauge is near the Suffolk County Courthouse. And Melville, where I opened, is kind of in the middle. It's a good location because it's kind of where all of like the highways meet on Long Island. So it's a really like easy spot to get to. But I was concerned about the competition. If you Google like divorce lawyer Melville, there's tons of them. At the end of the day, I hired a marketing company because I think they're the best and they know what they're doing. And, I'd like to be able to look back in 6 months and say, hopefully things are going well. You nailed it. What I don't want to be is looking back in 6 months and say, I'm not where I want to be. And, and their answer is, well, that's because you didn't listen to us.
Yeah.
So,
oh man.
So yeah, I went with it.
So you trusted them when you said, "Hey, I want to go over here," and they said, "No, go here." What was the reason they gave you for going into a more competitive market versus a less competitive market?
Yeah, I think they thought that the population in that area was much smaller, and it probably is. They're right about that, like a little bit smaller. But I think in terms of population to attorney ratio, the other location would have been, I don't know, significantly better in my mind, right? The population of 80,000, I'm just making up the numbers, but 80,000 where there's 5 other attorneys versus 50,000 where there's 1 other attorney.
Yeah.
Right. So my my thought was to go with the second one, but no, I think, part of it is maybe they're focused more on longer term, whereas maybe I'm focusing more on shorter term. Maybe that was part of where our brains differed.
Well, when we do our August review, our September review, we can look back on this and see who's right.
Yeah, we'll see. And I do still keep in my first office too, where they're I'm kind of aligned with that initial strategy of where there's not a lot of other competition. So I do still have that, and they're going to help, doing a lot of other things like getting me in directories and stuff like that. That will continue to expand my presence here, and I'll continue the reviews flowing in. And
We'll
then,
see each other again in a month and look and see how this month went. So,
yeah. And one last thing I'll say. So when I started, officially launched, it was like early August. So I think the first month you started counting was September, right? Because I think I launched in August. So then I was like, it was like 2 weeks, and then I was on vacation for a week, and then I came back. And it was like basically end of August. So we counted September as my first month. But I remember I was on vacation with my family. It was that time in August. Someone called, and they were, I hadn't signed a client yet, and they were like asking all these questions, and they were, kind of like keeping in touch with me, like filling me in up to this point. That person signed this week.
oh wow! So,
And it looks like it's going to be a fairly profitable case too. So the judge, we had our first conference like last week, and the judge already set a trial for May, and I think
wow.
he's ready to go, because I
Yeah,
think his position's right. So yeah, just
wow.
funny, keeping
6 month sales cycle on that one.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's more out there that are like that you've talked to already that'll come back again at some point in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's just funny that that's not something I had pictured. I always thought, if you don't, not necessarily don't sign them on the spot, but if it doesn't happen within a week or two, they're basically gone. But yeah, that shows that that's not the case.
No. For what it's worth, our average is 21, 22 days. That blends everything, right? We have people that come back 3 years later, you
Yeah,
know.
it's funny.
So, well done. Well done, Tom. Good month.
Yeah. I think March should be higher top line. I have a lot of kind of bit in the backlog that I can address, but obviously my bottom line is going to be hit with the new office and with new marketing company. So we'll see how things go. And when we talk in April.
Looking forward to it. Good luck on your consult you have in a few minutes.
Yeah, same. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.